What's up, everyone? Mike here, hanging out on the mushroom farm. Great video for you guys. So today what I want to talk about is mushroom foraging, all right? Springtime mushroom foraging. I haven't done too many videos. Actually, I don't think I've done any videos at all this year on foraging. We've been in winter, but winter is about over, and I know some of you foragers are really looking forward to getting out, kind of just searching through the forest this upcoming season. Maybe some of you guys are expert foragers and you're just like super pumped, ready to rock. Some of you guys might be brand new, you know, and some of you may have never been out at all. So listen up, because this video I'm just going to talk to you about some of the mushrooms I like to forage in the springtime, some of my favorites, and then I'm also going to talk to you guys about some deadly ones you might see, as well as some active mushrooms you may observe in the forest. So this video is for educational and informational purposes only. So I just want to say, if you are unsure of any of these mushrooms, definitely do not eat them, okay? Always verify it with an expert and do research on what you find. There's also local mycological societies that you could join just to gain further knowledge as far as identifying mushrooms and foraging mushrooms. I'm going to talk about some key identifying features that we have on some of these mushrooms, but kind of like the best rule of thumb is, like, if you're unsure, just don't eat it, man. And that's the way to stay safest, because there's some that there's deadly lookalikes, so always be aware of those for you new foragers out there. But let's get into this video, all right? I'm going to talk about the number one mushroom that I really like to forage in the spring, so let's get it. Number one, all right? Morel mushrooms. So morel mushrooms are a mushroom that I kind of grew up foraging. My dad took me out foraging when I was like a real little kid, and the only ones we really knew that he was sure of at the time were morel mushrooms and oyster mushrooms. Like, none of the other ones we ate, okay? So we like passed many edible species of mushrooms in the forest, like when I was just starting out, just because we were unsure of what they were, but that's the safest thing to do. So anyway, let's talk about morels a little bit. Now, my dad was actually taught by his grandpa how to forage morels, and there was a little like tactic he had, and my dad's grandpa, I never met him, but supposedly he was a really good morel forager, and he would look for dead elm trees. That was kind of like the secret or whatever.
Yo, what's up? So I got a bunch of morels here down in this bottom, and there's probably going to be some in this video that I'm absolutely going to miss, because I've already picked a few, and I'm seeing more as I'm down here. It's really cool. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to flip this camera around, and let's just see what we can find. So, oh, there's a nice big one there. Remove some leaves. There we go. Just going to look over here. See him hiding over there? A couple right there. There's a big one way over there. Look at that one. There's another one over here. I saw some more over here too, actually. I'm going to try not to step on these as I'm finding them. There. There's more. There we go. I'm going to get to picking these right now. I got a lot of work to do. Oh boy, there's even some over here. Look at these clusters. That's what I'm talking about. Right there.
So like, some people talk about they won't like give you their morel spots or whatever. I'll just kind of tell you guys some of the secrets I've learned over the years, just from my father, and then even myself just being out foraging in the forest. And there's certain things I kind of look for. You kind of learn the habitat and the terrain they'll stay in. Now, I'll say I was in the Mississippi River Valley, okay? In the Mississippi River Valley, like I was right around southern Illinois or the Missouri area. Those areas, the morels can be very plentiful in like river bottom areas, okay? So my kind of tactic was I would always find like a little creek or like a body of water of some sort, whether it was like a lake or a swamp, and I would just kind of walk around it. And here's a kind of a secret. For one, my dad's grandpa always said to look for dead elms, but in the very beginning of the season, like an early season tactic, is you can look, like let's just say you're walking by a creek bank or something, always just keep your eyes open. Look for those dead elms, but even like those grassy spots, you may notice there's actually some grassy spots that like the sun just kind of hits early in the season and they warm up a little earlier in the season. Since that soil is warming up there earlier and you'll see that grass starting to get greener there earlier, those are spots where morels typically like to pop up kind of early in the season. So I kind of look for that. So I'm looking for dead elms. If I'm walking a creek, I'm kind of looking for like those little grassy points and stuff like that. And what you kind of learn, believe it or not, I'm actually colorblind with certain colors, but supposedly if you're colorblind with certain colors or something, I think the cones in your eyes, they can pick up shapes better. I don't know. But anyway, I always, naturally, I just kind of look for structures, and my eyes pick up the structure. So you kind of get like a mushroom eye after a while, and I'll just kind of show you guys. Here's a couple pictures of all the morels that I've kind of found over the years. And there's some times you'll hit like a hot spot, dude, that they are just totally loaded. And like, that is because they're like symbiotic with the trees there, with those dead elms. Some people will find them around ash trees and maples, and I've heard all sorts of stuff, but like the main ones that I've always personally found them around are dead elms. Now, these are different than like burn morels and those type of morel mushrooms that people find out west. Where I live now, I actually can find burn morels. There are burn morels out here in these mountainous hills. I actually haven't had the opportunity to go find any burn morels yet, but I am going to get a chance this year to go out and I'll forage and I will try to find some burn morels and show you guys here on the channel. But those are just a few of my tactics for finding the morel mushroom that I've used in the springtime, and I'm really looking forward to finding some this spring. If you guys have been out foraging or you're going to try to find maybe your first morel this year, just tell me in the comment section below any of your like morel stories, or if you just haven't found one yet and you're really looking forward to it, maybe this will be your first year to find a morel. Now, on to the next one. Okay, so the next mushroom I actually find sometimes in the springtime when I've been morel hunting. I found these like the first week of April a lot of times in the St. Louis and the Illinois, Missouri region, is lion's mane mushroom, okay? You can find these fruiting just in the early season. They'll kind of grow in cooler temperatures. And I'll just show a few pictures up here of just some lion's mane mushrooms I've found in the wild over the years. And you're basically looking for these things on logs, and they kind of have like that spiny tooth-like structure. And there's no poisonous lookalikes for the lion's mane mushroom here in North America. So still, like I said, if you're unsure, always verify it with an expert. But those are just some that I like to find sometimes here in North America. It's really popular. They have a flavor of lobster or crab meat, and typically, like, you want them to get them when they're almost pure white. If they have a few off-white spots on them, it's still okay to pick the lion's mane mushroom. But if it starts to get really brown or really dried out, you can kind of tell typically if it's something you wouldn't want to eat. But if you have a little bit of off-white that or some yellow spots, that's totally normal. But the best parts are always going to be like that fresh, real pure white stuff. If you tear it open, it should just look pure white on the inside. And you can kind of see sometimes a little coral-like structure growing off from the teeth and stuff. But that is the lion's mane mushroom. And I have found them in the spring during morel season, so keep your eyes out for them. You're not going to find them on the forest floor like you would morels. But like I said, you would find them on logs, on stumps, and things like that. Now, the third one I like to find that we're going to talk about, I actually look forward to foraging this every year. This is kind of a controversial mushroom, and I'll tell you what, this is definitely one. If you're not sure of this one, verify this with an expert, okay? This is called the Gyromitra caroliniana, okay? These are like red morels or false morels, some people called them where I grew up. And actually, where I grew up, like I was talking about, in the Mississippi River Valley, my dad always told me back then just not to eat them, okay? He had heard stories that people had ate them and they had been fine, but he had actually heard about poisonings, so he was unsure. So we always never ate them when I was a kid. Now, as I got a little older and then I kind of went down the mushroom rabbit hole, okay, I kind of learned a lot about the Gyromitra caroliniana, and I learned that it actually is an edible mushroom, okay? There definitely are gyromitras that will kill you, okay? So be sure of what gyromitra you're eating. The ones we had there, though, kind of around the Mississippi River Valley region, we had these Gyromitra carolinianas. Some people call them the big reds. Anyway, I ate my first ones just a couple years ago, And I'll keep showing you guys a couple pictures up here of these gyromitras. And they're really good, actually, okay? I had heard from several people kind of how they had cooked them. Some people recommend parboiling, where you basically get some water boiling and you extract anything that would be poisonous in them out of them, and then you can cook them. But I'll personally say I have eaten the Gyromitra caroliniana without doing any of that preparation. I've actually just taken them and fried them up and eaten them myself. I haven't had any problems, but it has been a controversial mushroom in previous years. But there were studies done on several Gyromitra caroliniana specimens that were collected all over the United States, and none of them tested positive for gyromitrin, the poisonous toxin that is in them that will kill you. Okay, so that study basically said that the caroliniana was safer for consumption, and that's kind of where I went from there. And I just went ahead. I heard of other people eating them, so I decided to try to eat some. Like I said, it was fine, and I just fried them up like normal. And I actually like to eat these every single year now. But be sure of the mushroom you're eating in your area. All right, everyone, so now these fourth mushrooms and the fifth mushroom I'm going to kind of leave you with here today. I want to say this is where it gets wild, dude. So we're going to talk about a deadly poisonous mushroom, and I'm going to talk about an active species of mushroom that you may find in the springtime. I have totally found both of these in the springtime, okay? And I just want to say, this is for informational and educational purposes only. I do not recommend you try to eat any of these mushrooms. The deadly Gallerina, that fourth mushroom I'm going to talk about, it contains amatoxins, okay, and those can kill you, all right? And the other one, the active species, P. ovoid cystia diata, that is the mushroom that some people try to pick in the springtime because it does actually have hallucinogenic effects. However, its lookalike is the deadly Gallerina, so if you confuse one, you could end up dead, okay? So these are ones I do not recommend you eat. However, I just want to educate you on this whole matter just so everyone stays safe, and that way when you're out in the forest, you know what you're seeing when you're identifying your mushrooms. So the habitat for these things. Now, both of these are called little brown mushrooms, okay? So the caps are kind of like golden brown. You will find them kind of like in creek bottoms or creek bed areas, on decaying wood, or on the bottom areas. You might find them like growing that looks like it's out of the soil, but a lot of times there's some decaying wood there. So just be aware. Now, I'll show you a couple different like pictures of these because you might find them, like I said, on logs. And these previous springs, I have found several of these P. ovoid cystia diatas, okay? And you can kind of see them from the compound that is inside them. You will see this bluing that occurs kind of like either on the cap or the stem. I want to say, the deadly Gallerina, these deadly Gallerinas grow in the exact same environment, okay? And sometimes the deadly Gallerina, like, they do kind of bruise a little bit too. They won't bruise to the extent that the ovoid cystia diata would, but just be aware, they have different colored spore prints. The Gallerina has kind of like a rusty colored spore print. The ovoid cystia diata would have like a purplish or a darker colored spore print. So, like I said, I don't recommend eating these mushrooms at all in the springtime. One is deadly poisonous, the other is an active species, and I just want you guys to be aware of these mushrooms and that they do occur. But I wish you all luck this springtime when it comes to foraging. Like I said, be aware of those deadly mushrooms out there. Don't pick anything that's going to get you killed. Always verify with an expert. Don't be afraid to join your local mycological society just to gain a little more information on this matter. But please drop this video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But that's all I got for you on this one, and I will catch you guys on the next one.